Welcome to Lesson 4 of Non-Infectious Diseases and Disorder, which is our Module 8. In this video, we're going to be looking at nutritional non-infectious diseases. When we look at our nutritional diseases, we're going to look at the cause and effects. We're going to look at some data, which shows our incidence, prevalence, and mortality rates. And then we're going to also look at some patterns of the incidence and prevalence of some nutritional diseases. Lots of this, though, will be done in class so we can look at the data and analyze these patterns more closely. So when we talk about nutrients, there are 4 essential nutrients that we need to have in our diet. We need minerals, vitamins, amino acids, and fatty acids. So many of our nutritional diseases result from a lack or imbalance, sometimes even an overconsumption of these nutrients. This can lead to different types of malnutrition. When we look at malnutrition, we can look at overnutrition, which is an excessive intake of food, or an undernutrition, where we have insufficient intake of food. Sometimes it's the incorrect type, the quantity is not enough, or we see a combination of both. 2 nutritional diseases here are scurvy and rickets. So scurvy is a lack of vitamin C in the diet, and it was common amongst sailors of the past, and this was due to the lack of fresh fruit and vegetables available to them on the ship as they were traveling. Humans cannot synthesize vitamin C and therefore must consume it in their diet. A human body needs approximately 50 milligrams per day of vitamin C. And rickets is where we have a lack of vitamin D, and vitamin D is required to absorb calcium in the digestive system. The body does make vitamin D, usually if it's exposed to small amounts of UV light. So we often see a lack of vitamin D or a vitamin D deficiency in people who don't get enough exposure to UV. And then we have another nutritional disease, coronary heart disease. And this is the buildup of plaque inside coronary arteries. Fatty diets, high cholesterol, and other fatty substances can all build up in the arteries, causing an abnormal blood flow. This places unnecessary and unwelcome strain on the heart, which can cause blood clots or a heart attack if the blood cannot flow properly through all the different arteries. Some of the terminology which we need to understand, some of it is a recap of what we've done in Module 7, but when we talk about incidence, it's the number of new cases of a disease which is diagnosed during a specific time period, which we usually have as 1 year. Mortality is the number of deaths usually occurring in 1 year as a result of a disease. Prevalence is the number of people alive with a prior diagnosis of a disease at a given time. It is different from incidence, because incidence is just the amount of people diagnosed, whereas prevalence, they may have been diagnosed at any given time period, not the one that was being studied. And estimate, so future estimates for incidence and mortality are a mathematical prediction of past trends. They can assume that the most recent trends will continue into the future. However, our actual results are likely to vary. Here we have prevalence of obesity in Australia, and we can see that over time we have seen increases and decreases in the trends and the amount of people actually being diagnosed and obese. We can see here that we have our 2025. So this is obviously an estimate, a prediction of this growth rate. If it continues the same way, we will see up to close to 40% of males and females in the 20 plus years being recognized as obese. So we can see here that the 2005 says it's actual data, 2015 and 2025 are projections based on these data. Here we can see some data of nutritional deficiencies, and we can see the scale here helps us to regulate the amount of people in those different countries. So obviously the red colors here, so we can see a trend in a global trend here. We can start to see that in regions of Africa, we start to see lost more death from nutritional deficiencies per million people, and we can see other parts of the world are relatively low, and this may have something to do with access to healthcare, the amount of people in the population, but also just the way that and the access to fresh food, vegetables, and all the different nutrients that they need for survival. That concludes our Lesson 4. Make sure you tune in for Lesson 5.